So El Jefe, it means the boss in Spanish, and it's something that Pablo says to him during the episode that his uncle, the Brujo, talked about this sort of mythical figure, Jefe, who would stand up to fight against evil. You know, Pablo really thinks there's something amazing about this guy and sees something amazing about him, and Ash just sort of pushes it aside and says, "You got the wrong Jefe, Chief. It's not me," basically. Deep down, he knows that he's the one that needs to do this, even though he's sort of a blowhard and doesn't care about anything else, like, yet he's this amazing monster hunter. So it's kind of a joke on the whole world that this is the dude who's around to, like, save it.
It's good to be back.
We made a decision as much as we can to use practical effects because that was the fun of the original movies. And I know that Lucy turning her head was something that Sam was adamant on having, and it turned out great.
This is the head-turning rig for the Lucy Jedi. Bianca's head will be coming out here, and she'll wear this rig on her back.
Hello. Yeah, I've just had my head cut off. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather.
From the look of the show to what the humor is in the show to what the horror is in the show, Sam set the tone for all of that stuff.
That was so awesome.
I learned a lot from directing this first episode of Ash vs. Evil Dead. I have very little experience directing television. I had to really think crisp and clear, so that was refreshing to be placed under those situations where you have to think on your feet.
That's great. That's exactly what we need.
The amount of blood, it's so over-the-top crazy that it should be fun. I remember wanting that car fight and the mom scene in the bedroom to be just really gory, because if we're gonna have that be part of our show, this is where we want to establish it. Bruce talked recently about how he couldn't get the blood out of his eyes and then was like gagging for a while because it got in his throat. Right above him, there's a blood pump that's just pouring into his face. I don't envy Bruce's job at all. Mimi Rogers set the bar for every guest star we had. She was so good and played everything so perfectly. She was just like, I want to do my own stunts. I work out every day. I think this is so fun. I want to have blood all over me. She was so game. We do have multiple deltas. Sam has at least one, if not more. Somewhere he has the original delta. That one shipped down to New Zealand. It's part of the series, it's part of the world. That's part of Ash's life. It also shows that he can't let go of the past, like he's just taking these things with him. He either can't let go or he can't afford to let go of the past.
This episode was really interesting because early on in a show, you're still trying to sort of find exactly what the tone is of the show. I always really wanted it to have horror, but also have the jokes and things that I loved from the movies that were really fun. I really like this episode because just that car scene where they're talking, it doesn't always have to be tense scariness. I like that it sits for a minute and let the characters talk to each other.
Look, if I get this done quick enough, we might have time to stop for churros. And look, that's not a racist thing, Pablo. That's just a great dessert.
Books from Beyond, it was based on the interior of a store we saw in Los Angeles. In reality, it was downtown Auckland in the back of a soundstage. Our art department was incredible. They've worked so hard to make everything look authentic and also have this heightened reality that this world has. You have this book, the Necronomicon, at the sort of center of the show, and it can call forth any number of things. Demons and deadite things that Ash chops their heads off are very different. Elagos is just one of the demons that gets called out.
What is that thing?
Ash summoned a demon.
He did what?
That demon took months and months. The character designs and then the practical suit. Our actor, he was naked walking around set. You tried not to be like, oh, you know, there's a dude walking around. But everyone's pretty professional about it, I guess. Brujo is Pablo's uncle, and it's sort of a shaman, a witch doctor. Brujo sort of took care of Pablo from an early age. But Pablo always kind of laughed at this weird magic that this guy tried to practice, and now realized that some of the stuff that the Brujo said was right.
Oh, shit. Is that his real hand?
The hand went through a bunch of different versions. At first, it was suspended in a lucite cylinder, and it looked cool. It looked like Ash's old hand, but you realize when you filmed through the lucite cylinder, it looked larger than any hand or arm you've ever seen. And you saw when, like, Ruby was carrying it, it was like this giant arm, and so we went back and redid the hand so it could be something that was sort of wrapped up in this cloth.
I think it's trying to find its master.
This will help you look into those places where answers might hide.
You want me to take an acid trip?
To me, it was really interesting to see inside his head when he realizes he's in control of this trip, basically. He goes to his paradise.
Is that?
Your spiritual center, Ash. The place that makes you most happy.
Jacksonville, Florida. It's everything I ever dreamed of.
No offense to Jacksonville at all. Like, he got a postcard way back when, and it was of, like, a woman in a bikini fishing, and that's, like, that in his little tiny brain has formed, like, this is what paradise is. I could go, there would be people in bikinis, there'd be a beach, and there'd be some fishing.
What's so special about this place?
Oh, well, actually, I've never been.
It does represent the life that he never got to have because he released this thing.
I've always wanted to spend time in the city so nice they named it Jacksonville.
We wanted there to be some sort of mole in the group for an episode or so, and figured that would be kind of a cool way to do is to see the demon develop slowly in her. At first you think it's just headaches and she's seeing things on this weird Brujo reservation, and then slowly you realize, oh no, there's something else going on.
Demon, I command you!
That was a big scene, and you know, there are a lot of exorcism scenes in a lot of movies. I want to give people and fans the sort of familiar stuff that they like, but also sort of take it in your own direction. Having a demon hop out and the arm come out, and then having a demon sort of exit from a body. Something we haven't necessarily seen before.
Theo, watch out!
This demon's like preying on every possible thing that Pablo could want.
Oh. Join me?
That was just a fun scene. I know it was very difficult for Ray and Dana just on set, not because of the content of the scene, but because the mechanics of it were kind of weird for them. They had to be smoking out of a thing, and she was laying down a little. But they played it really funny.
What about right there?
There was an article that came out, how to make a robotic hand out of stuff just from your garage. And so we're like, oh, this can be done.
We're gonna build Ash a new hand.
Pablo, who works in the electronics department of a Value Mart, can make a hand. It works.
Oh, yeah, baby.
The sort of practical nature behind that hand is Bruce wearing a wood hand and a gauntlet that it clicks onto. It's not enjoyable for Bruce. That hand was made so we allow Bruce to have two hands in the show.
Thanks, guys. I'm gonna shove this right up some deadite's ass. Yeah!
6 is one of my favorite episodes. Our intent was to kind of lull the viewer a little bit and make them think like this was gonna be a sort of more talky episode, and then the diner fight is just gigantic and fun and crazy. That's where our stunt department really comes in, because they are so good and so willing to input stuff. They'll go film the basic segments of a scene and come back and show you. And you incorporate it into the script and into the fight. It's really a fun sort of interplay between departments. Tabbert suggested the meat slicer. We were talking about how to make this super extra crazy gory, and what haven't we seen before.
Thin slice. Just how I like it.
Part of the fun about doing a show like this, you can kind of come up with the biggest, craziest thing that you can think of and work toward it. The giant action set pieces are visual, like his head getting blown off and Ash peeking over it.
I told you I'd kill killers.
That just makes me smile, which I don't know if that's the right reaction, but it really does make me smile.
Okay, listen, some friendly advice. These militia types are a little twitchy.
They do have a lot of militias in Michigan, and Ash knows his friend Lem has joined a militia. He can go there and get some weapons for his friends that are insistent upon coming with him. So when they get to this camp, it's just mayhem and chaos.
You the government. You were the last people to see Lem.
Who's he?
Lem.
There was a lot of creeping and crawling down in the bunker. And it proved to be difficult.
I'm going to get you!
And so we focused a bit more upstairs with Kelly and Pablo. And then later on, we realized we wanted this scene of sort of Kelly getting to know her new gun.
Oh, hello, handsome.
We realized that the episode needed more gore and more blood and sort of over-the-top craziness. One of my favorite parts of this episode was when the guy on the ground says,
Just kill me.
and Ash is like,
We're not gonna kill anybody. We'll get you all fixed up.
and then he just goes like, no, it's not gonna happen.
It's one of those things!
So, we hitting this cabin or what? Because I'm ready to kick some ass.
Yeah, me too.
Where's this big bad cabin at anyway, Ash?
From early on, when we were breaking the episodes with Sam and Ivan, they came with a lot of ideas, but we always knew that our trajectory would take us to the cabin. And what we promised Sam was, you know, we're gonna have the fun old stuff that fans will love, but we're gonna put our sort of new spin on it. And that's what he wanted from it as well. But with the hand going back there at the end of 7, it just sets up the cabin as like this place where anything can happen, basically. The art department did such a fantastic job. They were referring to old blueprints. They had a bunch of photos to make sure we got details correct. They were diligent in recreating this thing.
Okay, yeah, now we're at the cabin, the Ash vs. Evil Dead cabin, which is a total copy of the original second movie. You know, working through the film, we've pulled it apart and freeze-framed all the way through it to try and find every detail. We had to recreate a whole lot of things. The famous talking deer head. The mirror, which features really heavily in Evil Dead 2. Rob Tappert, the producer, luckily kept this clock here. Even all of these holes in the wall were from the film. That would be the dreaded cellar, where a lot of it began. The reel-to-reel was a great purchase to find the matching reel-to-reel that was in the first and the second film. Kitchen where Ash loses his hand, even down to the details of what was on the shelves.
They recreated the outdoors too. So there'd be that like the generator and the shed and, you know, where Linda's head is.
We took the film as a continuity reference and then we've added a bit more aging to give it that 30 years of extra aging.
If you embrace the fact that like, okay, we're gonna go back there, you have to have the fun old stuff that fans will love. So everything was done, you know, to a T based on the old movies. It's the end of this episode that the flesh of the book comes off and it shoots onto Pablo's face. At a certain point, you're just like, okay. If you're an actor on a horror show where people turn into deadites, it might be a little scary when the makeup person comes up to you and says, we have to mold your face, because it might make you think like, uh-oh. But I think we told Ray pretty quickly, and he was pretty psyched about it.
Help me! Oh my God! Oh my God!
He spent a lot of days in that. I hope it was comfy. The Necronomicon takes on some personality of its own, and it can talk to Ash.
I'm what makes you special.
That was a practical effect. They actually built a book that could talk and sort of whisper to Ash.
You can see how it works like this.
It's all part of this cabin and this place fucking with him. You know, it's also saying the things that he's thinking. If he gives up this life, what does he become? But I think it's an untrustworthy character to listen to.
Ash, if you bury me, you stop being a Superman and go back to being a stock boy.
Ruby's one of the Dark Ones. As you see, her plan is not to just release evil upon the world, it's to control it.
The world is in chaos and I want order. You're the one obstacle in my way, so what's your price?
Ash, he's the master of making things worse for himself. You know he's gonna have to go back and deal with this stuff, but he doesn't think about that right now. I mean, here I go, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna take care of my friends, I'm gonna have this life I thought about. This is all cool, right? I'm letting like this Dark One deal with all this stuff.
Oh,
There's a whole lot of blood and gore in this episode, and in fact, in our shooting schedule, we left a couple extra days to film the finale so that we could really blow it out.
So we've got a couple of dump tanks. We're going to dump about 400 litres of blood through the chute, and as it leaves the chute, our blood mortars will fire more blood. Tidal wave coming out of the cabin. Evil Dead at its finest.
I want you to look inside my shoe. I got an aquarium of blood. Oh, ready?
We talked a lot to Rick, the director, and the effects people about like what could be done if Ash fights a little demon child. I remember getting the email like, kids can look creepy. Check this kid out. And then it was all the makeup tests on the kids. And like to see a little kid like smiling in his like terrifying demon spawn makeup. There's no other show that can do this, but that's what happens in this world.